Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, with you for another episode of the Steelers postgame show, where myself and co-host Lance Williams break down everything that happened when it comes to the game that was. And so the Pittsburgh Steelers leave Tennessee, beating the Titans 18-6. They advance to 3-0 in the preseason, which is absolutely meaningless. And maybe I should say, but this game was a little bit different because the starters played. But before we get into that, let's throw it over to Lance. Lance, how are you doing this evening? What are your quick knee-jerk reactions of the game that was?
I thought the Steelers looked really fast defensively. I think that was really evident in the game. Also, I think they looked pretty dominant on both lines of scrimmage. They were just kicking butt, taking names on both sides of the ball. Up front, defensive line was hunting. They looked fast on D. Offensive line was plugging, making holes, blowing guys off the line of scrimmage. James Conner looked good. They looked physically dominant on both sides of the ball. It looked like, okay, this is what we want to see. Let's let everybody sit on the bench. Let's go home.
It almost seemed like that. There was a lot of excitement just from writing the game recap. I think the first quarter I had about 400 words or so, and I might have had 400 words the rest of the game because there just wasn't that much news. The first half was exciting, and the second half just seemed to drag on. But nonetheless, let's talk about some players that impressed you, maybe in any way, shape, or form, and then we'll get to some players that disappointed. But let's start with the positive. I like the positives first. Who surprised you or impressed you in this Week 3 preseason game?
Well, on the defensive side of football, I'm going to go with a starter and a reserve. The starter was Stephon Tuitt. Stephon Tuitt was an absolute monster. 2 sacks on the game. And my guy, Skip to my Lou. Skipper wants to eat steak. Skipper don't want to eat burgers. Skipper wants steak. And the way Skipper is playing, Skipper might get steak.
He reminds me of Mike Hilton a few years ago. If you remember Hilton, no one was talking. When they signed Hilton, it's like, just another camp body. And then he just kept making plays. And he kept making plays. And he kept making plays. And it got to the point where if the Steelers would have cut him or tried to waive him and get into the practice squad, there would have been a gigantic uproar. And they had to keep him, and it paid off. So for Skipper, I don't know. He could. I want to see him on special teams. I hope he plays special teams because that's the way he's going to make the team. But he's certainly making a case for himself. He had another strip sack again tonight. But you mentioned Stephon Tuitt. They had 7 sacks tonight against Tennessee, and I want to say that 4 or 5 of them came in the first half of the starters. Just like you said, an absolute dominating performance by the Pittsburgh Steelers on both the offensive and defensive lines. Okay, I'll go with my surprises. I was, or not surprised, but who I was impressed with. Let's see. I thought James Conner ran the ball really well. It shouldn't surprise me, but I just want to see him do it. You know, you haven't seen much of him. They said at training camp he didn't have any contact at all. He played a little bit last week against the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 2, but he absolutely came and he delivered in a big way to the tune of, let me bring up his stat sheet quickly. I can't find it. That figures. Here we go. Pittsburgh rushing. James Conner had 5 carries for 41 yards, 8.2 average with a long of 21. That's pretty good. I will take that. And it kind of goes also to your point with the offensive line. Just looked absolutely dominant. We're pushing people around. It was fun to watch. And I'm going to give Ben Roethlisberger another. This is the only time we're going to get to talk about these guys in the preseason. So Ben went 8 for 13, 63 yards. He averaged 4.8. What the? Can you? I'm sorry about that. I was just stunned by an automated video here. Anyways.
I'm afraid to ask what it was.
It was from ESPN. All of a sudden, all this music starts playing in my headset. I'm sorry about that. Ben went 8 for 13, 63 yards, 1 touchdown with a rating of 99.2. If you want a reserve, because you brought up a reserve, I was really disappointed. I'll get to this in a second. That James Washington did not get a chance to actually play with Roethlisberger, but a reserve that surprised me. I'm going to go with Ulysses Gilbert. He was again
Boy,
flashing on the defensive side of the football. He was showing off his speed. It made me wonder, man, what would a defense look like if, in the future, if Gilbert sticks around, if he and Bush alongside one another? That's a very fast, very athletic duo there. So, what
let
were
me
your
give
thoughts on
let
that?
me let me
Or
let me give you a surprise name because I was thinking the same thing about Gilbert and Bush. I mean, that might be the fastest inside linebacker duo in the history of the National Football League. And I'm not a hyperbole guy, but it probably is. When you look at combine times, that would have to be one of the fastest inside linebacker duos if they ever started. But how about Big Dan McCullers?
uh,
Big Dan played well tonight. I mean, look, I rip Big Dan. I've always said that Big Dan has salacious video, pictures, and or film or whatever on the coaching staff, and that's why he stays. But Big Dan was actually playing some really good football tonight. He looked like he had a fire under him. And, if you see flashes like that, I could see where you could be confused about whether he's going to make an impact. Those type of flashes, along with videos and photos of the coaches doing stuff that they shouldn't, and you can understand why Daniel McCullers is probably going to make the team again.
yeah, it's one of those situations where you're hoping that someone will push him off the roster. When Le'Veon Hooks tore his Achilles, I think that kind of solidified his spot as the backup nose tackle. But yeah, McCullers played well when he was given the opportunity. People will always say things like, well, he played against third and fourth string guys. Well, you got to go out and you got to make the plays, period. You got to go out and make the plays. Let's go to disappointments. Who disappointed you with their performance at this game? There weren't a ton, but was there anyone that disappointed you?
Nobody really stood out. I think it's interesting that um, the tight ends aren't really getting many targets. McDonald had to drop earlier, but the targets, they're not really being targeted. I'm wondering if they're holding something back for that first game, that there's something special there. But I didn't really see too many disappointments for me. I thought they were really dominant and pretty crisp, and they came out and committed two penalties. But I'm going to tell you the thing that you asked about disappointments. I don't think there were many, and I'm assuming you're going to get to this at some point in time on the program. But Mike Tomlin won a challenge.
That's been talked about in the live chat a few times already. He finally won a challenge. It might have been the easiest challenge of his life. That was really clear cut that Griffey got his feet down. But go ahead.
Obviously, it's baby steps.
Yeah, and it's all Trell Austin. That's why.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm gonna go and say that the Joshua Dawes is a little disappointing. I don't think either backup was off the wall crazy good tonight that you're sitting there saying for sure this guy, whether it's Dobbs or Rudolph, is the number two behind Ben. For me though, I looked at it and Dobbs is just too streaky for me. I don't mind his mobility. It's obviously a playmaking skill set. But for every throw that he has, you're thinking, man, that's a strong arm throw from the left hash to the right sideline. He has a throw where he airmails a wide open receiver by 5 yards. You're thinking, holy cow, this guy couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. Another turnover, whether it was Gentry hit off Gentry's fingertips or not, but it's another red zone turnover, which is awful. Mason Rudolph had a turnover of his own, but he did have that really nice deep pass to James Washington. Say what you want, Lance. I think that tonight Mason Rudolph kind of solidified his spot as number two on the depth chart. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I thought that last week, so I agree.
Okay. All right. See, yeah, I thought that they would need to have, let's go with let's pump the brakes a little bit. But I just thought that Dobbs, he had the whole second half to kind of prove himself. And Rudolph only had a quarter. And so, think about that.
I think what was determined tonight, if anybody thought Hodges was going to make it, he's not going to make it.
No. Well, he was
mean,
never going to make it.
yeah, I mean, we thought he wasn't going to make it,
No,
but
no, I know, yeah.
it's a great
Everyone
story.
wants to talk about it.
If,
Yeah,
if anybody thought Hodges was going to make it, he's not going to make it. He'll play a ton next week. They'll give him an opportunity to be on a practice squad somewhere on someone else's team, but he won't be a Steeler. And the game is pretty boring when Collinsworth and Michaels talk about the backup quarterback battle for the whole game. I was like, it's not that compelling. And I'm going to tell
yeah.
you I'm going to tell you something else that was disappointing, and it's not a particular player. I couldn't get into that camera angle.
I was going to
I,
ask you about that. I was going to
I
bring that
couldn't.
up.
That was one of the things I wrote in one of my notes. I could not see the opposite hash. Now I don't know if that's age, that's my glasses, but man, I really could not see the opposite hash. Whatever, or the boundary, I should say, the opposite boundary on the other side of the ball, or the line of scrimmage that was furthest from the one particular angle that they were showing. I could not see it. So I had to really just stand close to the TV to kind of see everything on the field. I wasn't a fan of it. I watch a ton of coaches' film, so I expect it there, but it just felt pretty weird. I wasn't a fan of it.
I don't get. I honestly had no problem with it. The only thing that they needed to improve upon, it was the first time they ever did it, in my opinion, was tracking the football down the field. So, like a deep throw, they were slow to track the ball as it traveled down the field. Whereas from their usual standpoint, which is a lot closer to field level, it's a lot easier to follow the ball. I didn't have a problem with it. To me, it was almost better because you have that sideline view, but it's elevated more, so you're able to see more of the field. The depth chart from sideline to sideline was more visible. But let me ask you this: think back 2 years ago, Steelers Titans Thursday night, they debuted the Sky Cam, and that was where the camera was behind the quarterback. You got a lot of microphone stuff, with that was when Ben called Dilly Dilly during the game as an audible. Do you remember that game?
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that either.
Okay, so my question was, which do you like best, though, if you had to choose one or the other?
I just like the regular view that they show. I mean, whatever
That's
we've
not
been
an
watching
option.
for.
That's not an option. It's like you're listening to
If,
Dave
if,
Schofield.
well, Dave, but Dave, I'm not as bad as Dave because Dave did not want to pick a drink that he would have. Um, if I were to have the two, I'd take what we had tonight. I thought the Dilly Dilly game, I thought that was really bad. I mean, I really didn't like that one.
It
This
was
was
cool. It was cool that you got to see what the quarterback and the backs were seeing, but at the same time, you had no depth perception in terms of a throw down the field. It's just going to take getting used to. Like if NBC decides they're going to stick with this, in my opinion, both the Sky Cam and this, whatever they're calling it, the high cam, we'll call it that. To me, it only should be used for replay. Stick with your regular camera for the live play. You want to go to the Sky Cam for the replay to really see that hole opening up on the offensive line, or to see what the quarterback was seeing, or the pump fake that moved the safety. That's all awesome. I don't need to see that in live time, though. So that's my suggestion. A lot of people. Go ahead, Lance.
It'll be interesting to see how that impacts the all 22 if they do that camera angle, because it's similar to the all 22 view that you get when you watch it on Game Pass, but it's a little different because it's higher. Well, it's actually a little bit lower. Actually, the all 22 is really high.
Yeah,
yeah. So it was odd. I mean, I like the all 22 clip because it's really high. I don't know. It takes some time to get used to it.
Absolutely. And man, I cannot believe this. There is the majority of conversation right now in the live chat is based around Devlin Hodges. Why didn't he play? He's better than Dobbs. Blah blah blah. I don't know. He'll, like you said, Lance, he'll get plenty of time to play next week. And I know that I did the standard as a standard last night, and I talked a lot about Andrew Luck retiring, and someone brought up, hey, maybe the Colts would want to trade for Josh Dobbs. When you watch Joshua Dobbs tonight, no one would trade for that guy. No one would trade any type of asset for Joshua Dobbs. It's just fact. You agree or disagree?
Absolutely. I mean, I called him Hobbs.
Like Calvin and Hobbs.
So Hobbs and Shaw. So, if I mistakenly called him Hobbs, he's not that good. This guy, he's not an asset on any roster. I mean, he's just what he is. He's a second, possibly third string quarterback, no more, no less.
Yeah, no, you're right. So I want to talk to you about the starting offense because obviously I'm an offensive guy. I like to watch the offense. What was your take on the play calling from the starters? I'm not talking about when Mason Rudolph comes in. I'm talking about when Ben Roethlisberger's in there. Personnel groupings. They ran the no huddle to start the game. What were your thoughts on that operation by Randy Fichtner and Ben Roethlisberger?
Well, the two things that jumped out to me is 11 personnel is going to be the preferred personnel grouping for the Steelers when Ben Roethlisberger plays, and he's going to be in shotgun. I illustrated that in the show before, but you could really see that when they came out, and they're really going to spread you out and run the football with the sidecar running back in James Conner. That's going to be their preferred formation. The other thing is they're going to throw the ball a lot. I mean that's pretty much jumped out. They're going to throw the football off an awful lot. So just get used to it. I mean, he is going to sling it, and he's going to sling it a lot. It is going to be tilted. So that word that you like so much, balance, I do not think it will be achieved this year. He's going to throw it. I mean, more than ever. Now, it could be that you could have some more short stuff in the passing game that essentially are masking itself for runs, but he's going to sling the football this year.
Well, if the numbers are true, and I think James Conner was the only player that had a carry when Ben Roethlisberger was in the game. That's 13-5, pass to run. It was a lot worse, to be honest with you, because I'm watching them like, oh my gosh, it's just pass happy, pass happy, pass happy. They
Oh
ran the
yeah,
ball. They ran the ball in the first play from scrimmage after Switzer got tackled at like the 21-yard line. They run the ball, gain 3 to 4 yards, thinking, okay, here we go, just grind it out a little bit. Nope, pass, 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 punt. So they settled down. They got a little bit more balance, and I like to use that word in the second uh, possession, and that's when they were able to move the ball a little bit. Still didn't put up points, but I want to talk about defense because to me tonight, although the offense looked good and they were clicking, and I was disappointed that James Washington did not even see the field when Ben Roethlisberger was in there. I don't know why they did it. They were all about rotating Ryan Switzer and Eli Rogers. Dante Moncrief got a lot of time, so let's leave that to the side for now. What was your thoughts on the defense? And I want to ask you first about the inside linebackers because if you notice, Devin Bush started on the bench, and Vince Williams and Mark Barron were in there. What were your thoughts on that?
I was a little surprised. Maybe it's because Bush is a little banged up, and maybe because they wanted to get Vince Williams some reps, some live action.
That's true. That's true.
I was a bit surprised at it. At the end of the day, Bush is going to play a wealth of snaps. Um, I think Vince Williams is going to be the guy that's going to be the odd man out. Interestingly enough, Barron is the guy that may play more snaps than both of them.
Yeah, he seems like the mainstay.
Yeah, like
they're
he
rotating the
seems
other two.
like
Yeah,
he's that guy. And I think a play that I pointed out, I believe in the first game was the fact that he could actually cover a running back on a wheel route. And and that's the one thing that I noticed with this defense. First of all, the front was hunting. I mean, Hargrave, Hayward, and Tuer were just. I mean, they were.
jeez,
They were just hunting like the quarterbacks had fresh steak, or they had $1 million bonus on their jersey, and they was all trying to go get it because they were hunting. But this defense is fast. It's Usain fast, and so I'm not going to even call him. I'm just going to use Usain Bolt's name as a verb. The defense was Usain tonight.
Okay, so you talked about the speed, and when you watched this game tonight, did it calm some of your nerves? Because let's be honest, both of us were concerned about the defense. We're always concerned about the defense. Did this performance from the starters in the first half have calm any of your nerves about the upcoming season in general? Not week one against Tom Brady, but just the season in general.
Why'd you have to give that caveat about week 1 against Tom Brady?
Because
You should
I knew you were going to bring it up. I knew you were going to say
you
something
should
about
ask
it.
me this question after week 1 and ask me if I
I'm not
no.
talking about. I'm just saying right now, moving forward from were you like,
Yes,
okay,
yes,
calm it
yes.
down. Good.
I fondly believe that they have the personnel groupings, or excuse me, that they have the personnel to run the variety of packages that they want to run, given Sean Davis is healthy week 1.
Right. And that was an ankle injury, by the way. Mike Tomlin said it was an ankle injury. He'll be evaluated. He's not going to play Thursday anyways, but you have to wonder if he's going to be healthy enough to even play in week 1. Bud Dupree had a thumb, and he's looked okay. He's actually looked pretty good so far.
He's looked damn good.
Take it easy there. He's still Bud the Dud for a reason, all right? So
Yes,
let's
he
just
is, but you know what? I mean, he looks motivated by a paycheck, and that's a good thing.
got to be
He
motivated by something, right?
he looks like he want that money. So, mama need new shoes. So,
That's right. That's right. So for me, I mean, I look at it and say, I think the defense. I was impressed by Terrell Edmonds. When he had that breakup early in the game, it was a pass that was probably completed last year 9 out of 10 times, and he had that closing speed to come in, have a big hit, dislodge the football. I said, "Wow, that's some closing speed right there." We haven't seen that closing speed in our secondary since maybe number 43 donned the black and gold. I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying that we haven't seen that closing speed from someone in the secondary since Troy Polamalu. Make sure you understand that correctly. I am
okay,
not saying that Terrell Edmonds is
all
Troy
right.
Polamalu in any
Don't,
way, shape, or form.
don't put
I'm
that
just
pressure on
saying
that kid like that.
I'm just saying the closing speed. I mean, these guys are flying around. I thought Cam Kelly represented himself well. They did a lot of 3 safety looks, where that's really unique, and they have versatility there with those 3 players. I just thought that I thought it was a good defensive performance all the way around. And my gosh, when Cam Hayward hit Ryan Tannehill from behind, I thought
Whew.
that lineman that let him, oh my gosh, he better be buying Tannehill a nice steak dinner or something to apologize, because he got rocked. They, like you
Yeah.
said, they were out to prove a point. I think they are out to prove a point. I think this team as a whole is out to prove that, you know what, last year was a fluke, and this year we're gonna have to prove something.
I would hope so. And I don't know what the passing of the wide receiver coach means to them, but I think hopefully, I know for me, when I've been in experiences like that, what it does is, I know for me, it centered me and made me not take for granted time. And so hopefully it does the same thing for this football team, where they don't take for granted the opportunities that they have and realize that, this can be taken away from you at any time for any particular reason, be it a sudden death, be it whatever. So you have to take care of your business. And you have an opportunity to go out and win football games, be business-like, go out and win games.
Yeah. So now, I mean, we're obviously going to be able to dissect this game for the rest of this week. And then Thursday, the Steelers will travel to Carolina for the preseason finale. But this is obviously where we open up the questions and ask, if you have questions, you can leave those in the live chat if you're watching live on YouTube. If you didn't know we're on YouTube, go to YouTube, search BTSC Steelers Radio, and subscribe to the channel. If you want to use the super chat feature, you can. Basically, what you do is you put a dollar amount in by clicking the little money sign next to where you actually enter the chat, and it will highlight your question or your comment, and we'll be guaranteed to answer that on the show. So the first question coming in from Getting Bent with Bo, that's your IKEA couch guy there, Lance. He said, who's your player of the game?
Skipper.
Tuzar Skipper.
Skipper.
Okay.
Skip to my Lou, baby.
All right, I'm going to go with James Conner. He ran the ball hard. I like it. Mario asks, is it panic time for the tight end position?
No.
Be based on the fact that you don't think they're going to target them that often?
No. McDonald's a savage. They'll be fine.
Okay.
I think they'll look for one, though.
Hopefully he got those drops out of his system today. Let's see here. Thoughts on Dirty Red, Tyler Matakevich.
I have none. He's a special teams guy.
The funny thing is the big plays that were made, especially in the first quarter, who was in coverage? Vince Williams. In the second half, who was in coverage? Tyler
Tyler
Matakevich.
Manicated. He does what he does, and he
That's right.
doesn't do what he doesn't do.
That's right. Matt Thomas asks, why did you think Ben Roethlisberger didn't play with Washington?
They don't like each other. He criticized them after the Denver
Oh
game.
my gosh! Don't
and
say
they don't, and they don't like each other. They don't like each other.
He's
It's a
totally making that up.
controversy.
He's totally making that
They
up.
don't like each other.
My
Yeah.
guess is that the coaching staff, and that's Randy Fietner, wanted to go. He wanted to go no huddle. They wanted to make sure that they got everyone their reps. Moncrief looked awful in week 2 with the fumble. Juju didn't have a reception in week 2. They wanted to make sure that they got everybody in there. So for me, I'm going to go with that's why they didn't get him in there. So Lance should be back soon. I'm not sure what he's doing, but we'll get him back on the air when he's done. Nick asks, are you guys also unimpressed with Switzer's returning? It's tough for me to gauge the returning because they have taken out the return game from the game. Basically, the kickoffs are these short kickoffs are happening just because people want to see their kickoff coverage units. The kickers are able to kick it out of the end zone every time, and so therefore the kickoffs basically being phased out of the game. Punting is a little bit different. The punter for the Titans had some huge kicks that were unreturnable, so it's tough for me to gauge just based off of one game. And it looks like he's back. Let's see if here we go. Welcome back, Lance. Thank you for the heads up. Cree said, did I see the info? Yes, haven't got a chance to look into that. I will. Awesome stuff, 1983. Jeff, have you bought a Rudolph jersey yet? Not yet. If you know anything about me, I don't buy jerseys.
Yes, he has.
I know
he
I have
has
not.
one. He just hasn't worn it yet.
I don't buy jerseys on a whim. He's going to have to do something before I go out and shell out any money for a jersey. Lance wanted me to re-ask a question I put in yesterday. That's from Darren. I'm trying to think what that question was, Darren. If you can remember, fire it in the live chat and we'll get to it as soon as possible. Let's see here. Tua had a solid game. Let's see. Do you think the Steelers defense is going to take them to the Super Bowl? This is from Jeremiah. Lance?
Why don't you answer that, Jeff, first?
Heck yeah, they are. That's what I'm talking about.
Go with Jeff's answer.
All right, here's one. Havoc says, do you think there's any way the Steelers go with just 2 quarterbacks this season?
No. They typically don't. So I don't think that'll be the case. Plus, you can't get anything for either one of them. They're not going to give off Rudolph. So,
Okay.
And you can't get anything for Hobbs. Dobbs.
People that might stumble on our show might wonder who the heck we're talking about sometimes because we have Mr. Third and Fifth, Butt Naked and Robbed. Now you got Hobbs. I mean, Bud.
Yeah.
I mean, the Dud and all this stuff. El Busto, if we ever bring him up. So,
Benny No Jets.
Yeah, there you go. Who did not dress tonight because of injury. Okay, Tyler asked thoughts on Artie Burns and Justin Lane tonight.
Justin Lane is who he is. Average guy, rookie guy, finding his way. I think Artie's playing better. Artie's definitely playing better. I think Artie's a nice insurance policy for them. And that's a guy that we haven't talked about. We haven't talked about Nelson, a free agent signing. We haven't talked about Nelson. I don't think anybody's completed a ball on Nelson in preseason. So that's definitely a good sign.
If you're not hearing about his name, it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Is the lack of interceptions a cause for concern for you with the Steelers defense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think they're getting there. They're getting close. Yeah,
they're getting the ball on the ground. I mean, the ball is coming out.
Absolutely.
The ball is coming out regularly.
Switzer or Rodgers?
I'll take both.
The more I
think
watch,
they're going to keep both.
The more I watch, the more I think they're not going to keep it. That one of them is going to be gone. So I'll see. I'm not sure. Here's some.
So give me the 6 wide receivers. If they don't keep both,
I just think that, for instance, like a Johnny Holton who's going to play special teams. Hey, you got to get guys that can play teams, and as of that, in this regard, Ryan Switzer's a return guy, but other than that, no one on that group plays teams.
Is he
So,
really a return guy, or is he just a catcher?
are there any return guys in the NFL anymore?
He's just a catcher.
Well,
He catches the ball and steps on the ground really fast in the same spot and doesn't move. You know what he's like when I watch him run? I don't know if you're too young for this, Jeff. We might have some people in the live chat that remember the electric football games where
oh
you had
yeah,
the electric football field and you had the electric football men. And you'd have that guy, you turn on and go, and you get that one piece that would kind of shake and move, but it wouldn't move. It would do a lot of shaking in one spot, but it wouldn't move. That's Ryan Switzer. He's the electric football guy on the electric football field that just went, but he never moved. That guy takes 500 steps to go 5 feet, not very fast.
well,
As you can tell, I think he's very average, but he's a friend of the quarterback.
that's true. People talking about returns. Like a lot of people brought up Deontay Spencer. He wears number 82. What was his return like tonight? Antoine Randall. I'm gonna go this way, then I'm gonna go back this way, and I'm gonna go this way, and I'm gonna go that way this way. I'm gonna run 200 yards for a gain of 4. So they're taking the return out of football. That's what I said when you were on your mini sabbatical there. So okay, let's see here. Russell asked, "Did you hear anything about Sean Davis's injury? All we know is an ankle. Haven't heard any severity or anything like that. I'm sure his practice availability will be. Look, they didn't cast it up. They didn't air cast it. He was walking off. He wasn't carted off. That typically leads you to think that it's of the more minor side of the injury, but you never know. So we'll see.
Who starts, Jeff? Who starts in his absence?
Holy crap! Well, I mean, Artie Burns started opposite Nelson. Or I'm sorry, Sean Davis. It's Cam Kelly.
Yeah,
Has to be. Has to be. Unless you're going to throw three safeties on the field and you have someone like Mike Hilton play back there. And I don't know. That's
if
another.
it's Cam Kelly week 1, that's the Scarlet Sea. Tom Brady, like, who? That guy. Let's have a conversation. Let's go get after him.
Let's not pretend that when Sean Davis actually did play that it wasn't the Scarlet Sea anyways.
But I mean, it's not as bad as Cam Kelly, though. I mean, Cam Kelly's.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
That team up north is under some turmoil right now.
Yes, they are. Let me ask you, Jeff.
Lance Kendricks suspended. Ben Watson suspended. Patrick Chung's facing felony charges for cocaine. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they getting it in up there. I mean, does winning just erase all ill will or anything? Like when you win as much as they do, it just doesn't matter because, good Lord, if this was the Steelers last year and somebody along with all the drama got popped for coke, can you imagine? They'd be talking about it still. I mean, they got a guy popped for coke. I mean, come on, man. Pro athletes doing coke in season?
Yeah.
Come on, man. And it's like it never happened.
It's certainly not being talked about, that's for sure, that I've heard. So, I don't know. It's definitely one of those situations where, like you said in a text message for me, they're the model franchise. Last year when the Steelers were going through all their junk, everyone said, that wouldn't happen with Bill Belichick. He's got control of his players. Yeah, you sure? What kind of control are you talking about? Maybe it's Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft kind of control.
Hey, and I forgot about Robert Kraft. He getting rubbing tugs. I mean, he getting rubbing tugs with the bat out the back, pulling up in the Rolls Royce before he goes to the Super Bowl. Allegedly, of course.
Right. Yeah, that was a sting operation. All right, so we have a super chat here, $10 from Hassan. He said, I think Juju Smith-Schuster is going down as one of the greatest receivers of all time. Over Joe Green, I think that's...
Pause. freeze, pause, freeze, timeout, T, pause, wait, hold, freeze. All right, excitement is one thing. Let's pause.
Did you just do a Saved by the Bell timeout in the middle of the show? See, was that after your time? Did you watch Saved by the Bell? Probably not.
I think.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
You remember the show Saved by the Bell? Zach Morris, Screech, Mario Lopez. You're really drawing a blank. He's sort of.
No, man, I'm too old. I'm too old for that stuff. I'm too old for those shows.
Well, they
man.
used to always do.
I mean, I know Mario Lopez
from
the talk show.
Yeah,
I know Mario Lopez from the talk show. I know Maria Menounos.
Okay.
Was she on that show?
Nope.
Or she was just on a talk show too. Okay.
All right.
I know her.
Here's Darren's question on the screen. The question was, when do we know
That's
at a position that the problem isn't the player, the problem is instead the position coaches? It's a good question. What do you think, Lance?
I wanted you to answer the question.
Me to answer it. See, I don't know. To me, it depends on what the player, like, let's say the player leaves and has success elsewhere. Because sometimes.
Like Vrabel.
Vrabel would be a good example. Some people might say Emmanuel Sanders, but I don't believe that with the receivers based on the fact that Sanders might have just developed into a better receiver in a new environment with a new quarterback, where he actually was the focal piece, so to speak. You know what I mean? If a player leaves Pittsburgh, and this is rare, Lance, can you think of anyone else that leaves Pittsburgh and goes and is, I would say, a big-time player somewhere else?
None jumps on my head. None jumps to my head immediately. I mean, Rod Woodson was still good when he left and went to the Ravens. I mean, that's kind of
that was more of a contract thing. The Steelers. It's tough. I guess another option would be, okay, so you have a position coach leaves, and then the players start performing better. You know what I mean? So Joey Porter is asked not to come back, and then TJ Watt goes out and gets X number of sacks this season. Would that be a reflection of the position coach, or is that a reflection of the coaching? That's a good question to ask there. What do you think?
I don't know. Think of Bud Dupree. I mean, what do you think? I think Bud Dupree kind of is emblematic of the question. I mean, he's been there for 5 years. Is it the coaching staff, or is it Bud, or is it Dud? I mean, which one is it?
Well, this is a question.
I think in Bud's case, it's the player. In Bud's case, I don't think it's the coaches. And I'll use Watt as an example, because Watt comes in and he flourishes in 2 seasons. He's a better player than Dupree in 2 seasons. Dupree has still not hit his stride and to be the player that they think they are. So in that case, I think it might be the player.
Right. I talked with Chris Carter from DK Pittsburgh Sports about Bud, and he was talking about how the Steelers basically have just told him last year, eventually, just go do what you do. Like, you just got to do your own thing. In my opinion, it sounded like Joey Porter was trying to teach him how to be a technical pass rusher, and that's just not Bud's MO. He's an athletic freak, for his size and speed. And so eventually the Steelers just said, look, man, just go after the quarterback and do what you do. And there you go.
You mean a player could not pick up the nuances of pass rushing?
He didn't even have he didn't even have an outside linebacker coach.
Is he?
Well, he didn't even have an outside linebacker coach all through college, I don't think. So it's not like he ever had any type of specialized training. Now, some might criticize the Steelers scouting department for that. How do you not know that before you pull the trigger on a first-round pick?
Well, I mean, there is the phrase, if you're thinking, you're stinking. So, I mean, at some point in time, you want to start reacting on instinct, that you know what you're supposed to do. You see what's coming. You can key and diagnose pretty quickly and play fast. So I like what I'm seeing so far. So maybe that's the epiphany, and that's a sign of coaching.
Yeah, you're right. But the Steelers have one of the smallest coaching staffs in the entire National Football League. And I don't know if people know that. They just don't have a lot of, I mean, for crying out loud, you've got an offensive coordinator that's also doubling up as a quarterbacks coach. You've got a defensive coordinator that's doubling up as an outside linebacker coach. How many teams have that?
You mean they don't have a guy, a specialist making shakes like Chip Kelly did back in the day when he was the coach
Uh,
when he had a guy that was
oh
making
my gosh, I
the
remember that. Yeah,
nutrition the nutrition shake coach, that
you're
guy,
right. You're right.
bone
So,
marrow and kale and whatever, bone marrow, kale, pro, whatever they were doing.
all right, Lance, it's a late night here on the East Coast for me.
Yes, Jeff is melting as we as we go.
These late games kill me, man. They kill me.
Yes,
Let's do some final thoughts on the game. Like I said, we're gonna dissect this game throughout the week. Starting with tomorrow night, Monday night, the Steelers hangover with Brian and Tony will be here, and then the Stat Geek, and then we're gonna unveil the rest of our. I think we might try to do the standard on Wednesday, or no, I'm sorry, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
we're
Lance.
still in preseason mode, listeners. We're still in preseason mode. I mean,
Well,
we're
that's the
like,
thing about the preseason. They're playing on Thursday. They're playing on Friday. They're playing on Saturday. They're playing. I mean, seriously, it's been another day every single week.
I'm
But
gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest, listeners. It's more of a grind for Jeff because Jeff's doing writing. Jeff has 7 kids.
nah, I
Um,
do not have 7 kids. I
he's
have
he's
5 kids.
he's got 7 kids. You got pets too, don't you?
I
You
do
got
have two
pets.
dogs. Yes, if you want to count them, that's seven.
That's exactly. You got it's like a pack of 9. Like there's somebody always somewhere at every time doing something. So the season is a grind, right? We love it, but the season is a grind. So, we're kind of like the refs. Like we're trying to get our time in back and trying to get into the swing of everything. Just, so summertime, Jeff's got, 11 kids, we're all trying to work this all out. So we apologize.
Well, yeah, we'll let you know.
Essentially, that was a long-winded way of saying if you see us on, we're on.
And that's why I've been saying over and over again that people should subscribe to our YouTube channel because I've had a lot of people um, email me. And Darren, by the way, he says, I challenge you, Jeff, to be well rested for at least one post game show. I I will be fine when they don't play at 8:20. But these games are late, and I get up early to exercise and do all that stuff, and I've been busy all day today, so it's tough.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, um, so
He's
okay,
Darren. He's better tonight. I mean, I've seen when see like, but I'm gonna take you guys behind the curtain. You're forced to see both of us for the whole time with
that's
this
true
new
too.
software, whatever this is called.
It's called
StreamYard,
StreamYard.
right?
Yeah, yes.
So typically with Yahoo, it
No, it's
flashes
Google,
back and forth
Google,
to
Google
whoever's
Hangout.
talking. Google Hangouts, it would flash back and forth to whoever's talking. So there would be times when, I'd see Jeff in the background just yawning, and I'm just talking, just letting Jeff kind of just recover as he's yawning, doing what else. And there'd be times like, I have to go get something, go to the bathroom, do whatever. Jeff doesn't see me in the background, so he just keeps talking. He's like, hey, just keep talking. He'll come back. So this is different for us because we actually have to stay focused and look at the screen for the entire pod. So it's like, wow, okay, this is different. I can't yawn. I can't take a quick 30-second nap before I get back to my tape. So be patient with us.
Yes, absolutely. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel on YouTube. If you're someone that loves to be in the live chat, you love to be right there, and you're all, you want to be a part of that community, that's fine. Subscribe to the channel so when we go live, you get a little notification on your phone. Make sure your push notifications are on for your YouTube app, and you'll make sure you get everything. If you don't care about the live chat, you can always watch us on YouTube anytime you want. All our shows are on YouTube and obviously on all of our podcast platforms, wherever you listen to your podcast. So with that said, the Steelers win. They're 3-0 in the preseason, which means, like I said at the beginning of the show, absolutely nothing. Yet,
Oh, oh,
what's up?
Jeff.
What's up? Lance is ready to say something.
Dave is so happy they scored 15.
From Bo, the bet with Bo. You're right.
Bo was probably like, I got me a ticket. Oh, no, you don't. They scored 15. I was like, get 18. Get 18. Get 18, please. Can we get a pick six? So Dave has to pay off the bet. But
Well, Dave would have come through too.
yeah,
He would have come through. He would have done it. So keep that in the back of your mind. But for Bo, it was a close bet. Close as 15 points. So close. So, but the Steelers win. Lance, why don't you send us out for the evening?
tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe.
That's right. We will see you next week, next Thursday, for another episode of the Steelers postgame show.